What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel. It's me again, Carla, in this vlog. Well, if you're new here in my channel, don't forget to click subscribe and hit the bell button below to get updated for my upcoming videos. Well, guess what? What is our vlog for today? Well, if you want to find out, stay tuned. Okay, so before moving on in this video, may I ask you first, for you, what is language? Well, for me, language is so important because without language, we cannot speak, we cannot communicate with each other, right? So, that is what we're going to talk about today, all about language, but specifically the Philippine language. So, are you all excited? Let's proceed. The Philippines is a diverse country with several ethnic and immigrant communities. So right now, we have 183 dialects and languages that are spoken around the country. We'll add of the estimated 2019 Philippine population of 108.2 million, there are 45 million speaks Filipino. So here in the Philippines, we have 8 major dialects. So we have Bicol, Ilocano, Cebuano, we have also Hiligaynon or Ilonggo, Kapampangan, Pangasinan, and lastly, Waray. So the language being taught all over here in the Philippines is what we have Tagalog and also English. So, moving on now, I asked some of my friends on how important Philippine language is for them, and they also give some examples of the different language here in the Philippines. So let's see.
Language is the soul or the spirit of our nation. For me, it is the root of respect and the understanding. And as a Bachelor of Culture and Arts Education student, I have found out how this language really helps in upholding and strengthening our culture and heritage. As a country with 120 to 187 spoken languages with 8 major dialects, I have realized how really diverse our country is, that we are not just rich in various natural resources, but also in way of communicating to others. I think that language also doesn't talk about using of words and sounds, but it can also be true through showing your love and respect to others using your actions. And I think that there is no superior and inferior language for as long as we understand each other, and that is all what matters.
For me, the Philippine language is the primary language used in school and media, and it's also the lingua franca that unites the nation disparate linguistic communities. You'll mostly encounter English in government newspaper and magazines. So, I will give examples of different terms of I love you. In Hiligaynon, the terms of I love you is palangga taka. In Tagalog is mahal kita. In Kapampangan is kaluguran taka. And in Cebuana, ginehigugna taka. That's
How important Filipino language is. Filipino language is important because it is a manifestation of cultural identity that embraces all languages in the Philippines. The Tagalog language in particular is important because it serves as the basis of all language in the Philippines.
So that was all their answers. Their answers were so amazing and very appreciative. Well, that is also the importance of the Philippine language for them and also the examples of the Philippine language they know. Well, I hope guys you generate it to your mind and you could also do that in your daily conversation. Guys, I'm going to give you some examples of the languages that I knew based on my knowledge. Example, in English, we have where have you been? But in Cebuano, it is translated as asa kagikan or in Tagalog, we have saan ka nanggaling. We all knew that. But here in our own dialect, in Hiligaynon, it is translated as diin ka halin, right? So imagine how creative those languages are representing the different regions here in our country. So these are all the examples of all videos that are now trending even on TikTok that uses different languages here in the Philippines. Well, we have Hiligaynon, Cebuano, and also what we call our Pambansang Wika, which is the Filipino or Tagalog. So now we will focus on our Philippine national language, which is the Filipino or Tagalog. So the development history of the Filipino is so complex. Officially, it is the standard version of Tagalog, which is mostly spoken in Luzon, the foremost island here in the Philippines. So majority of the Filipino citizens are bilinguals and multilinguals. So to understand the development of Filipino as a language, one must know its origin. So Tagalog is partly responsible for the emergence of Filipino. But it should be noted that in several key areas, the two languages are different. So the development of a language around the world is typically fascinating because several factors normally contribute to the formation of a language. While the Filipino language is not a stranger to this fact, many interesting factors as well as political and social developments occurred that helped the journey of the language from Tagalog to Filipino. So now I am going to give you 10 interesting facts about Filipino language. Since 1987, Tagalog is the official language of the land. And the Filipino language, on the other hand, is the official language in 1987. This is the reason why many people, Filipinos, and foreigners alike are confused as to which term to use for the language. The term Tagalog came from the word Taga-Ilog, meaning the river dwellers along the Pasig River during the Spain's occupation of the Philippines. Tagalog and Filipino have distinct differences, such as in structure, origin, and even in the number of letters in the alphabet. In 1937, former Philippine President Manuel O. Quezon proclaimed that Tagalog is a national language. But what's more interesting is that the push to have the native national language came from a foreigner. The call for a national language came ahead of the proclamation of President Quezon, which was supported by the Institute of the National Language. The Filipino language serves to establish the identity of the Filipino. Given these facts, we can see that Filipino have mixed heritage and do not have clear or specific identity. Thus, Filipino language are what makes Filipinos unique. The precursor of the Filipino, the Tagalog, is not a pure language. It was developed through various influences. Lope K. Santos, a Filipino grammarian, writer, and a senator, introduced the Abacada alphabet, adapted from the Latin alphabet. Spanish priests were the one who did most of the early studies on the Filipino language. Clergymen and Spanish missionaries were the one who collected the grammatical rules of the language and its vocabulary. About 33% of the Filipino word roots came from Filipino has a long list of words with repeating syllables. Examples are oo, meaning yes, baba, we have chin or the lowness, and lastly we have baba, meaning to go down, and many more.
As someone who devoted himself in strengthening our local tradition, culture, and heritage, I am really saddened about the idea of a dying dialect in the Philippines because I know that it is a national treasure and already part of our own history. It is something that has been passed from generation to generation and has survived for over a century, and it is not something that can only be invented in just a day. So it should not be forgotten and changed only because we find our local dialects inferior and find the language of other races superior. So what we should do is that we should teach our children and younger generation on how to value our own local dialects by using it. Yes, that is the idea there. Because when you are using your own local dialects, you are just proud of being a Filipino. And I firmly believe that it is when you are using your own dialects that your Filipino spirit will shine.
So that was all, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you learned something from this video. Well, see you on my next vlog.